Your heart starting to do like this.
Just keep your patience.
The start of a new millennium and the start of potentially the most historic World Rally Championship season ever. Changes for 2000 included twice world champion Carlos Sainz joining Colin McRae at Ford. They were together at Subaru in the mid-90s and relations then weren't always cordial.
Carlos?
A lot of people keep writing and saying it's going to be difficult. I have been working with him before. We have one problem in one rally. We speak about that, and everything was clear many years ago, and we have good relationship, and I'm sure we are going to work together hard to make for winning, and well, we will see what's happened after.
The other major change, 1994 world champion Didier Auriol moving to SEAT.
I think with SEAT it's a young team, and they want to really try hard, and they want to really try to get results. So they have need to have an experienced driver to have a situation of the car. So I am quite happy to work with this young team.
But the man they were all trying to catch was Tommi Mäkinen, looking for his 5th consecutive world title. January in Monte Carlo for round 1. The most famous casino in the world and the start of the most famous rally in the world. First off the ramp, wearing the champion's number 1 for the 4th year in a row, the highest flying Finn, Tommi Mäkinen. Subaru's Richard Burns was runner-up in 1999 after winning the last 2 rounds of the season. The Englishman came to Monte Carlo looking for 3 out of 3. Colin McRae was just hopeful of new luck in a new year. He and Ford hadn't won for 6 months. Not much snow up in the Alpes Maritimes above Monte Carlo, but reports of ice higher up the stages. The Monte Carlo rally is never predictable. Whatever the weather, Mäkinen threw down the gauntlet to his challengers.
Jääläikkiä. Sitten on jäätä tästä loppuun asti. Jäätä koko ajan.
He quickly got to grips with the icy conditions and pulled out a first day lead of 12 seconds over Richard Burns.
Izquierda 4 zas poco hielo. 40, derecha 2 menos zas.
The first victim of the year and the rally, Skoda's number 2, Luis Clement.
Extintor, la rueda. ¿Ese no es de dentro?
It's very slippery with ice, and in a corner just 0 kilometers per hour, touch a little at the rear, and the bumper go down and the exhaust put fire, and arrive at the end of the stage with fire.
3 times Didier Auriol has won in Monte Carlo. The Frenchman was in the top 10, but not in the Champions League. Unlike his teammate Tony Gardemeister, he was suddenly being touted as the successor to Mäkinen after climbing to 3rd in his SEAT Cordoba. The car is yet to win a rally, but Gardemeister showed that he, rather than team leader Auriol, could be the one to hand the Spanish team their first World Rally victory.
Actually, it's going quite well, but only some mistakes. Like I spun 3 times on this first leg.
Running 4th was Carlos Sainz in his debut for Ford. Just ahead in 3rd was Gilles Panizzi. But Burns was having trouble keeping the British flag flying. On the Selenet stage, 1,000 metres up in the mountains, Mäkinen set a time 14 seconds faster than Burns over just 20 kilometres. By By dawn on day 2, £1 million worth of rally cars, including the Subaru of Richard Burns, and all 3 Peugeots were out of the rally, the freezing temperatures stopping them from starting.
The car wouldn't start. Simple as that. It's been -10 overnight in Gap, and it wouldn't start this morning. We pushed it out of Parc Fermé and tried to get it started going down a hill, jump start and bump start it, but it wouldn't go.
In one foul swoop, Mäkinen was left with an almost unassailable lead. The driver closest to him, Carlos Sainz, 1.5 minutes behind. This was only Sainz's 11th day driving a Focus. 9 of those were in testing. Gardemeister hung on to 3rd in the Seat. But closing fast was Britain's Colin McRae, who overcame a day and a half of niggling technical problems to set fastest time on the second-to-last stage.
Tightens cat, 50, 6 right minus opens, into 6 left and 6 right opens.
And McRae took 4th from Subaru's 4-time champion Juha Kankkunen. Also in the point, Bruno Thierry in a privateer Toyota. Day 3 began with a rude awakening, the mammoth stage at Sisteron.
We always look forward to the cars coming out of Sisteron. In past years there's always been something happening in there, and difficult tyre choice, and it's difficult again this year with the patchy ice and whatnot, but Tommy's quite comfortable, so we can make a tyre choice that's safe rather than a high risk.
As predicted, Mäkinen was masterful in Sisteron. Snow, ice and a fin, a potent combination. Still in the running, but not in the frame, Mäkinen's teammate Freddie Loix. His grip on the conditions not as impressive as Mäkinen's. In 6th and showing he deserves a works drive, Bruno Thierry. Tony Gardemeister's prize for a commanding drive was an almost certain 5th. With Burns out, Juha Kankkunen was content with finishing 4th. But on the final stage, Kankkunen was handed a belated Christmas present, Colin McRae's 3rd place. McRae's face said it all. The year 2000 had started as 1999 had finished on a low. All Kankkunen had to do was reach the end, and a podium place was his. The silver lining to Ford's cloud was Carlos Sainz hanging on to 2nd. But it looked like business as usual as the reigning champion Tommi Mäkinen cruised to victory.
Tommy, 2000 Monte Carlo winner? Yeah, I think so. It's excellent start for the season.
Pour lui, c'est encore quelque chose de fantastique.
Round 2 in the International Swedish Rally, normally the coldest, snowiest rally of the year, but not in 2000.
Normally very cold, very icy and snowy, but this year there's an awful lot of gravel. It's quite mild, so the conditions are totally different.
Hyundai made their World Championship debut in Sweden with the Accent World Rally car. Team leader is local hero Kenneth Eriksson.
It's been very mild weather in the moment, but I don't think it's so bad as people are speaking about. I think in the moment we have about 90% ice and 10% gravel, although it's missing snowbank, which is a bit bad for all of us, because if you miss a braking point, normally you can lean against the snowbank and push it back on the road.
The small but muscular Hyundai looked good on the slippery forest roads of central Sweden, roads on which Ericsson learned to drive. But joy quickly turned to despair. Ericsson suffered turbo failure early on, leaving Colin McRae's younger brother Alistair to fight Hyundai's corner.
Left on crest, tightens to medium plus and opens long, 100.
With Ericsson gone, local hopes were pinned to Thomas Radström in a private Toyota. Marcus Grönholm showed in Sweden that Peugeot had fixed the problems of Monte Carlo. On day one, he led by 15 seconds from Radström and set fastest time on half of the day's 8 stages north of Karlstad.
For us, it was fantastic. I'm very happy with the car, and driving was okay, and yes, very good.
Colin McRae reckoned he would have been leading if a valve on his Ford's turbo had not got stuck. Instead, he was fourth, the fastest of the non-Scandinavians. Tommy Mäkinen survived a scare at the start of stage 5 when he ripped a chunk out of a wheel. Michelin's run-flat Moose system plugged the gaping hole. Only 37 seconds separated the top 6 drivers. Fifth was Richard Burns. The Englishman suffered early in the day with bad tyre choice and therefore a lack of confidence.
Slight left at long crest, 65.
Once he changed tyres, Burns was like a new man, but his newfound speed got him into trouble.
We lost about 10 seconds over the last two because we landed badly on a jump early in the stage and damaged something in the rear suspension, so it meant it didn't handle at all, and the back end of the car was bouncing around a lot, so we lost a bit of time.
We are very, very equal at the moment, all of us with speed. It's, except Marcus made some incredible times.
The prospect of half a dozen drivers all within half a minute drew fans from across the frozen Lake District of Sweden. None of the major stars had gone out on day one, but early on day two, Tony Gardemeister's hopes of repeating his Monte Carlo magic evaporated. Even with Gardemeister out, there were enough Finns fighting to keep the Scandinavian fans happy. Mäkinen, running on skinny snow tyres, was trying to force his compatriot Grönholm into making a mistake and throw away his first ever World Championship victory. Mäkinen was ice dancing. Colin McRae was still third, 28 seconds behind leader Marcus Grönholm, but only 1 second behind Mäkinen.
And opens over crest. Into slow 4 right. I think you're going to keep it tidy. Slow 4 right. Into 6 crest.
McRae feared a 10th retirement in succession when his teammate Carlos Sainz was halted with an oil pump failure.
Yeah, unfortunately he had an oil pump drive failure, which meant that he had no oil pressure, and also it's the same shaft that drives the alternator, so the car wasn't charging either. It's unfortunate that it happened on a road section, not even on a competitive section, so no points for Carlos.
Juha Kankkunen was on course for 6th and 1 point. He was only 1 place behind Burns. Both were blighted by a lack of grip. The fiercest battle was for 3rd. Radstrom got ahead of McRae by half a second going into the final 25-kilometre stage, despite a near off.
Long easy right tightens, 2 easy left over crest 70.
Singing his stage notes in Sweden, Tina Turner.
60 long bad right plus before sign. Injunction. Ah. 150, crest in easy left opens and tightens.
Mäkinen knew it was too late to catch Grönholm and settled for 2nd.
Oikee 10, huomio tosi pitkä vasen nopea plus kirraa.
On the last stage, McRae promptly purged his focus of any unnecessary weight, including a spare tyre and sun visors. It paid off, the Scot leapfrogging back onto the podium and his first finish in 9 rallies. But this was Marcus Grönholm's rally. He led virtually from start to finish, a stylish way to win his first World Championship rally, and a stylish way to give Peugeot their first win since 1986.
Time for Mäkinen, 11:27.9.
So the Drivers' Championship, Mäkinen from Grönholm, Sainz, Kankkunen and McRae. From one extreme to another, the ice of Sweden to the heat and dust of Kenya, and the Safari Rally, the toughest rally on the calendar.
You win by having no problems, by not stopping to change punctures, by keeping the car moving. That's how you win. You don't win by being the quickest everywhere.
First in the championship meant being first off the line for Mäkinen. But 2 punctures quickly meant that the Finn and his Mitsubishi were first to retire.
It was just too many punctures. We had to do last 20 kilometers with broken rear wheel, and of course it is too much, too hard. But I think we could still continue to the service, but we had maybe it's something broken battery or something, because engine just suddenly it stopped and we couldn't start it anymore.
To finish the Safari, you have to build your car as much like a tank as a racing machine. Both Seats were charging like rhinos until Tony Gardemeister's door, or lack of one, started causing problems for the Finn.
After 10 kilometers there was quite bad bump, and I think the door lock was broken, and then suddenly the door drops and like this. And then we should drive 100 kilometers without the door, and there was very big dust. I don't see nothing.
The Subarus left everyone eating their dust. Burns leading from Kankkunen.
And easy left. And long easy right. Tightens and opens.
Johan Kankkunen hit a cow but managed to keep his head and second place.
Yeah, just one cow, not one, there were about 10 of them. Just came from the right from the bush and just couldn't go to the left enough, you know, to go around because there were some trees and things, so just hit them.
From the Subaru All-Stars team, Toshi Arai was amongst the big boys. All the top drivers were using spotters in helicopters to warn them of dangers ahead, like potholes or slower cars. The heat got to Gilles Panizzi, who boiled over after another car had held him up.
The driver before, he's not sport.
Why?
Because I remote him, and the helicopter, my helicopter, saying to him, stop, he don't stop, and me, paf!
Panizzi retired from the rally with a $50,000 fine after taking the law into his own hands. Grunholm retired later with clutch failure. With some stages in Africa as long as a whole rally in Europe, concentration is often a problem. This is Carlos Sainz and Luis Moya.
Cuidado, 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 cuidado. Pero puta, avísame. Carlos, si no pude joderlo. Pero grítame. Pero si no me dio tiempo a avisarte, si me pongo un segundo, coño. Cuando quise avisar estaba. Pues nada más acabo caliente el cielo. Ahí va.
The conditions were drier, hotter and rougher than in recent years. Those cars on Michelin tyres seem to fare worse on the razor-sharp rocks than the Subarus and Seats on Pirellis.
Caution into stop crest and dip. Into 6 crest and 6 right over bump keep out.
Absolute nightmare. Okay, I mean, we drove really sensibly through the first one because we really didn't want to have any more punctures, and we managed to sort of have a puncture-proof run on the last 2. Tyre let go on the road section, but yeah, we've had 4 punctures other than that on the previous 2 sections of the day.
By the end of day 1, Burns had opened a commanding 4-minute lead, but wouldn't allow himself to savour it. In 1999, he was in exactly the same position when a bolt sheared and took him out of the rally.
The fact is that the car is working very well. The tyres are working very well in what are obviously very difficult conditions for them, and I'm just sticking to my own speed, my own driving. I know, been doing the Safari quite a few years now, and I know about the speed that is a good speed to keep the car going, and that's what I need to try and keep up for the next 2 days.
If the punctures weren't bad enough, McRae was getting frustrated, this time by being held up by Didier Auriol.
Listen, just keep your patience. There he is. 76 crest, straight 1 kilometre.
McRae's hard rally eventually ended when he drowned his Ford Focus in a river, dammed deliberately by spectators. Petter Solberg tried to bump start his teammate, but with no joy.
There was a water splash about 2/3 of the way through, and spectators had dammed it, so it was obviously a lot deeper. We knew it was deeper, and we went into it just as cautiously as we could. But unfortunately, when you accelerate through, you've got to sort of find the balance between getting through and getting stuck. The wave of water came over the front, but we had no protection on the air intake, so it just went straight in the air intake and drowned the engine.
Carlos Sainz kept Ford in the points even after his suspension had collapsed earlier in the day. As the rate of attrition mounted, Armin Schwartz and Skoda smelled success. Just past the stricken Ford, this is where Grunholm went out of the rally. On day 2, Subaru looked as indestructible as day 1. Despite temperatures in the cockpit of 50 degrees, Burns kept cool. One minute 44 seconds adrift was Juha Kankkunen. He was 10 minutes ahead of Didier Auriol in the Seat. And behind them, Carlos Sainz in the Ford.
The car has been working very well. No punctures, so quite happy about today. We start 10th, we are 4th, it's good.
It's still a very hard day and very long day, and Carlos Sainz it's less than 5 minutes behind me, and if he pushed very hard everywhere, it's still possible for him to catch me, you know.
Day 3, and the sun was shining on Burns and what he hoped would be a kick-start to his season. If Burns and Kankkunen looked safe, Auriol was worried about the 2 Fords.
Gauche à fond, bon plus sur rocher. Gauche à fond, sur droite, léger gauche à fond, léger droite à fond, ça va?
He was worried not only of Sainz, but also the Norwegian hotshot Petter Solberg. Solberg's speed was wowing everyone, except his team manager and engineer, who wanted him just to finish, but behind Carlos Sainz.
200.
Phil from Martin. Do you think you're going too fast now or not?
Just forget it, Martin. 6 left, 200.
Heading for 6th, Toshi Arai in the privateer Subaru. But the Subaru of Burns was the star of Africa. This was his 2nd win in Kenya. His first ever World Rally victory came on the Safari in 1998.
It's quite different. This one a lot better prepared, and I was a lot less nervous today than I ever was on the last day 2 years ago, because I just got the feeling that it was okay and the car was still good, and I didn't have to worry.
Round 4, and a move back to Europe for the Rally Portugal, based in the capital of port wine, Porto. Subaru brought out a new version of the Impreza for Portugal.
The guys at ProDrive have been designing it for the last year, and although it doesn't look much different from the outside, there's a hell of a lot different under the skin.
Right out of the box, the Subaru was lightning quick. Burns quickly opened a 40-second lead with 4 stage wins. But Kankkunen's car was already suffering first rally niggles. He went out. Grunholm was magical on the stages east of Oporto. As brave as the Finn were the tens of thousands of fans who lined the stages at FIA, where the cars leap high into the spring air.
Oikein täysilinypy 8 ja oikein eli miinus. Ja pitkä nyppy täys 120. Oikein täysilinypyn.
But almost as fast as Burns had opened a lead, he lost it by the same amount to Marcus Grönholm. Power steering was the problem.
It's just been a case of getting here without losing too much time and trying to keep hold of the car. It's very difficult to react. You can't react if you see a stone or try to change a line or the car's sliding. It's impossible to react without the power steering. So at least we're back here one piece.
Portugal was where Colin McRae won his last rally. He looked on course for a repeat win until his Ford Focus ground to a halt with a broken engine. Rumours that McRae would now leave the team were stronger than ever. Within minutes, Finland's Tommi Mäkinen crashed out after ramming a tree stump. His season was going from good to bad to awful.
No ei oo perkele tossa. Se osui siihen kantoon. Ai jaa. It was tight hairpin right. There was some very little tree stump inside, and we didn't mark it on our notes.
Freddie Loix has never been as fast since a major accident in Kenya. In Portugal, he looked off the pace again. Third was Carlos Sainz, who also had power steering problems. Fourth was Seat refugee Harry Rovanperä. Fifth, the fast Norwegian Petter Solberg. And sixth in the Seat, Didier Auriol. Seat's season had got off to a good start. The question was, when would Auriol give the team their first win?
Gauche à fond, 40 mètres. Attention, gauche 5.
Marcus Grönholm knew that on day 2, Burns would be on a charge. Leading on the gravel roads was not ideal. He spent the morning having his overnight lead of 40 seconds, gradually gnawed away. Burns was in his element on the rutted tracks in mid-Portugal. Despite running with a new Cosworth engine, Carlos Sainz didn't have the speed to stay with the first and second place drivers. Fourth behind Sainz was Harry Rovanperä. The Finn was dropped by Seat at the end of 1999. Now he was desperate to show they were wrong. Fifth was Grönholm's teammate Francois Delacour, who, like the Finn, complained about dust finding its way into the cockpit of their cars. And sixth was the increasingly quick Estonian Marco Martin. The roads of Portugal are fast and unforgiving. This is David Loix. Incredibly, he escaped unhurt. By mid-afternoon, Grönholm had lost his lead to Burns.
Max braking 50, very long crest 40, it's on fast right. Minus. 50,
see very long race
But Grunholm retook the lead when Burns, who was running third on the road, was slowed by dense clouds of dust left hanging in the forest.
In the morning it was not good on the first on the road, but now when it started to be dark and the dust came up, so I had a small advantage, yes.
We'll be second tomorrow behind Marcus, and I think we've shown today that when we want to be, we can be considerably quicker than he's been. So I think we'll just go flat out. Okay, the daylight stages, so we shouldn't have some dust, so that's a big bonus.
3 stages, 14.6 seconds from Grunholm to Burns. A duel not only for the rally, but for the lead in the championship. Running first on the road, Grunholm was at a disadvantage, his Peugeot cleaning the road for Burns behind.
150. Oikein jouhee. 8 vaan se pitkä rivi.
Burns had already passed Grunholm twice in the rally. Now he looked confident of doing it a crucial 3rd time. Out of the frame, Sainz in 3rd. Rovanperä in 4th. Delacour in 5th. And Freddie Loix had passed Marco Martin to take 6th and the last points. As for 1st and 2nd, it all came down to the last stage. Burns was in striking distance, but could he strike a final blow?
I don't think so. I don't think so. We will see. We have to wait. We go on with...
Well, pointing up. Yeah.
Burns had no idea how fast Grunholm had gone. All he could do was maximum attack.
8:13. See time. Let me see the time.
8:12.9. 8:12.9. We got it.
In 60 kilometres, Burns had sliced through Grunholm's lead.
But it's a big pleasure for me to bring the new car here. The team have worked so hard to get this car here and working properly, but it's a fantastic result for them.
4 wins from 6 rallies, and Burns leaps into the lead of the title race. The first Englishman to do so, and the first driver other than Tommy Mäkinen to head the championship in 2.5 years. From Portugal, the World Rally Championship travelled across the Iberian Peninsula for the Rally Catalunya, based in the town of Lloret de Mar on the Costa Brava.
It's very difficult rally to win. You have to have everything, setting has to be exactly perfect.
Panizzi and Delacour, they will be very fast on tarmac, and for myself, I think if we could take some points, that's good.
I think it's quite possible that we give the others a run for their money here.
As the flag dropped, the rains fell. Burns came to Spain looking for a hat-trick of wins. From stage 1, he set a blistering pace, helped by heavy rain in the mountains above the Costa Brava. The World Championship leader set the fastest time on 3 of Friday's 6 stages. Mäkinen suffered transmission problems and was never as quick as Burns. Cutting corners only made it worse for the cars behind, as Lewis Clement found out. Carlos Sainz is a god in Spain. For most of the first day, he was third and locked in a fierce battle with Mäkinen, only half a second adrift.
Derecha del cambio José está a poco, acaba Rasán de César mucho, para izquierda rápido nos corta más.
Even with new engines, François Delacour, Gilles Panizzi and Marcus Grönholm could only manage 5th, 6th and 7th. Burns' closest challenge came from Colin McRae.
We'll wait and see. Well, at the moment it's drying out. Now probably the tyre choices are going to be more difficult than it was this morning.
Even when things did start drying out, Burns was still able to hold McRae at bay, but there was a quiet air of optimism in the Ford camp. After lunch, the stages switched this way and that up around the town of Vic. The dry suited some drivers more than others. The surprise of the day came when Germany's Armin Schwarz gave Skoda their first ever stage win on stage 5. It moved him to 9th.
It was a flowing stage and we pushed quite hard for that. And I think it was the combination. The car was good at tyre and we have been not so bad either.
McRae too was on a charge. Burns still led, but McRae was looking dangerous.
Into 6 left, into 5 left, plus cut, gravel ruts. Into slow 4 right, don't cut. 30.
Burns started day 2 knowing that his lead was at risk. On the dry, rougher tarmac south of Barcelona, the Michelins were always likely to be faster. If Sainz can't win, the Spanish crowd will go wild for McRae. His style, his flair and his sense of drama appealing to the Latin fervour. Not that Sainz was out of favour, he hung on to 3rd.
30, feature right, plus.
By lunchtime, Burns had lost the lead. Gearbox problems didn't help. He was reduced to cutting corners.
Line and fast right, and flat right 30, fast right in line and fast right.
McRae set fastest times on 2 of the 5 stages. His lead at the end of the day, 4 seconds. Ford were now 1 and 3. Sainz was fastest on the last 2 stages of a 17-hour day. 4th, and looking less and less capable of defending his world crown, was Tommy Mäkinen. 5th and 6th were the Peugeot pairing of Marcus Grönholm and Gilles Panizzi.
There's only a few seconds in it, and Carlos is right behind us, Tommy only a few seconds behind that, and Colin's there, so it's going to be a good day.
The next morning, 500,000 Spaniards woke early to witness the duel between Burns and McRae, but as dawn broke, the clutch on McRae's Ford refused to work. With seconds to spare, the mechanics got it fixed, but he had a 10-second time penalty. The panic kick-started McRae's adrenal gland to such an extent he set a time 7 seconds faster than Burns over the first 40 kilometres. On the following stage, Burns was marginally faster than McRae, leaving McRae just 1.1 seconds ahead with 2 stages remaining. Sainz briefly moved into the frame before dropping back, much to the disappointment of the fans.
Richard's obviously going to be trying like hell, and Carlos, so it's going to be a close finish.
So it was left to the Brits. On the penultimate stage, McRae stretched his lead to 5.9 seconds. The Scot had made himself virtually untouchable. Guaranteed 4th behind Sainz was Tommy Mäkinen in an increasingly out-of-touch Mitsubishi. Fifth was Marcus Grönholm, and 6th, Gilles Panizzi. but all eyes were on the fight for the lead. On the final stage, Burns used every inch of the snaking road to find a faster way down the mountain, but McRae had already found exactly the same ground. Their final times, fittingly, were identical.
12.098.
After 13 months, McRae was a winner again. What's more, the day before the rally, he'd thrown down the gauntlet to Ford. Give me a winner, or I'm off. Round 6 and the first Southern Hemisphere rally of the year, based at Cordoba in the South American Pampas. This is cowboy country, except here the cars are the bucking Broncos.
I think we're going to still see quite a lot of competition from Marcus, from Tommy and from Colin. I think you're going to be the strongest competitors here.
I have been here once, it was 3 years ago. A lot of new stages now, so maybe it's very difficult to fight for a victory, but I still hope we can do top 3 position.
Burns was robbed of victory in 1999, and this year he was out for justice. Rally Argentina's a mixture of gravel and water splashes. This year, bad weather made it one of the most spectacular of the season. Grunholm benefited from running lower down the order, jumping straight into the lead. Francois Delacour was not having such a good start to the rally.
I had the fire in the car. Then we took the extinguisher with Daniel, and the fire was stopped, but we lost about 8 minutes. After you forget to shut the bonnet opened suddenly in the stage. We stop again, and after the second stage, the fire was coming again around my pedal box.
Just 0.6 of a second off Grunholm's lead, Carlos Sainz, the man they call El Matador, fitting in this land of big stakes. Brake problems and the time penalty cost Colin McRae a crack at the lead. The Scot was third, 10 seconds behind his Ford teammate and just ahead of Burns. Tommy Mäkinen lost 6th gear, crucial on the fast stages. As a result, he was down in 5th. Not much to cheer about. Juha Kankkunen won the Rally of Argentina in 1999 after disobeying team orders. This year, he was down in 4th.
Water to medium right, minus.
Richard Burns was more worried about water splashes than flying fins.
Come on, baby. Come on.
We will see tomorrow. I think it's anything can happen anytime in any stage, so we need to carry on. Still a long way to go.
Sainz had set fastest time on 3 stages, giving him a 4-second lead from Grunholm. Then it all went wrong.
Se cierra para unos cortos a Sam. La salta derecha acá. Ahí va.
No, rompí el motor, loco. Soy técnico mecánico.
Well, I was coming just after a crest and too much in the inside, and it was a rail. They have put a guard rail in the inside, and I just hit it in the middle of the car.
Sainz's rally ended on 2 wheels, not 4. Petter Solberg lost it in one of the water splashes, rolling right into the arms of willing helpers.
You're okay, you're... Stay in the car, just stay in the car. Switch your wipers off. Okay. Okay.
I don't want to do that again, because that was on the limit. Your heart starting to like this.
Somehow, the rest of the field all made it through unscathed.
Hyppy vasen nopea. 2. Pitkä oikein nopea plus sumppu. 5.
Freddie Leutz in the number 2 Mitsubishi had climbed up to 6th. A week earlier, Marcus Grunholm had escaped unhurt from a massive 160 km/h testing accident. It didn't seem to have slowed him. With sights out, he was leading. But not for long. Day 2 was all about Richard Burns. He won 6 out of 7 stages and built up a sizable lead.
40, slight left over crest, 2 crest, 170. So slight left over crest to crest, 170, sand entry, medium left minus, in, and medium left.
It's been really good. I think the weather's played into our hands a bit. It's meant that the Pirellis, that we know they work well in this kind of condition. It's very similar to like the RAC, and well, what can I say? I've tried my hardest all day, so I'm glad we're in the lead.
McRae's challenge came to an end on day 3, when engine trouble after a heavy landing forced him to retire. McRae's retirement moved Freddie Leutz up to 5th. And 6th was Petter Solberg in the 3rd Ford. 7th was Alistair McRae in the Hyundai. He and his teammate Kenneth Eriksson were overjoyed to have finished in the top 10.
It's been quite tough at the start of the year. It's getting better, we've still got a lot of work to do, but to get a point in this fourth rally out is very good.
Juha Kankkunen clipped a tree in his Subaru, but still took 4th place. Tommy Mäkinen finished 3rd. Marcus Grunholm came close to losing 2nd place on 2 occasions. Once when he clipped a bank, and another time when he went into a corner too fast and nearly overturned. Then he came across the 3 Musketeers.
Vasen hidas. 7. Oikein nopea. 7.
But this was Burns' rally. He led all the way despite a wrong turn in the mist.
In and K left. To right max. And K left, to right max 40 fast left, plus.
You have to get another shot of me coming out of the car. Richard, congratulations, your third win of the year. How does this compare to the first 2? This has been really tough today. It's been the weather like this, you can see what it's like, and the last stage was a hell of a lot of mud and really, really horrible to drive. But obviously we got the right car, the right tyres for this condition, and it couldn't have been better. We really had a lot of luck, I think, as well, because we had a lot of problems on the first day. But yesterday was fantastic.
With 3 wins in 4 rallies and a comfortable lead in the championship, it looked like Burns was the man everyone had to beat for the 2000 title. June saw the championship move to Greece for Europe's toughest rally, the Acropolis.
This rally is very, very rough, and anything can happen, especially when you've got stages which are run twice. It's going to be very, very hard on the car.
We did go down to the south of France for some temperature work, but it was still only 28 degrees, whereas here it's going to be nearer 40, so it's going to be interesting.
Well, Acropolis has always some surprises. I mean, it's a very rough rally. You never know what happened, but I think if we go in a reasonable speed and just keep the car together, we could have a good result again, yes.
The rally started under the Acropolis' famous monument, but then headed north towards Delphi, where rough terrain, thick dust and high temperatures made a big impact on the cars and drivers, literally. It didn't take long for Marcus Grönholm to find out just how tough the Acropolis rally can be.
I cut one corner, one very, very small corner too much, and there was some concrete pole in the bushes, and bam, suddenly we were on the roof, but we came on the wheels again.
In most other European countries, the police would have stopped Grönholm for driving on 3 wheels, but not in Greece. François Delacour found himself in 3rd place, albeit a minute adrift after the other drivers fell victim to the punishing route. Freddie Loix had gone out on the very first stage with a sheared hub shaft at over 100 kilometres an hour. The same happened to Tommy Mäkinen, leaving his title hopes in tatters. His last win was way back in Monte Carlo. The Subarus were struggling. Burns from running first on the road. His chances of repeating his '99 success looking unlikely. Kankkunen was 4th. Despite running on rutted tracks littered with rocks the size of footballs, there was no sign of the Focus's reliability problems. Ford even fitted 15 kilos of armour plating to their cars. Second was Carlos Sainz, 38 seconds behind Colin McRae. It looked at last as if the Ford tide had turned.
4 left, in 2.6 crest 30, 3 right plus opens. 30, care 2 right through bump. And 3 right minus opens. Into care 3 left minus tightens, rock keep out and tightens to 2.
Held together fairly well.
No real problems. We've had a couple of punctures, but the mousses worked very well. Just a bit surprised at the pace. We've pulled quite a bit of time on, certainly on Richard and a bit on Carlos. So it's not ideal to run first in the road tomorrow, but if we're pulling that much time, we have to really keep on going and try and take as much as possible.
The heat was unbearable. At midday, it was 45 degrees. In the car, it was 70.
Oh my God. All right. And you? Okay.
Richard Burns lost 2 minutes on day 1 when his suspension collapsed. His chance of playing catch-up on day 2 suffered when he got stuck behind François Delacour. His suspension also broken.
Braking, flat right 20, fast right plus in, and fast right plus. 80, 90 left, plus tightens, baby. We're past it, okay.
Just after we caught Delacour, we lost about 20-25 seconds passing him, but then one of the front dampers went completely and the front of the car was just on the springs. So about one of the roughest pieces across the last 4 or 5 kilometres, but we lost about 35 seconds to Colin.
The top drivers were dropping like flies. Grunholm's rally ended when his Peugeot's engine gave up the ghost.
No engine anymore. No engine.
And Delacour lost a lot of time when he nearly went off the edge of a cliff.
Suddenly the car went on the right side and I was nearly in the drop. After that I had the fire in the car, nearly next to the tanks at the back of the car, that I was very afraid. I stopped the car and some spectator helped me to put the car down, and we lost maybe 7 minutes, something like that.
Burns was now up to third, but this was a rate of attrition severe by even Greek standards. But impervious to the dramas were the Fords, still 1 and 2. McRae from Sainz.
Corta, para derecha buena más, para adelante que izquierda abrirse, izquierda acá se quiera poco y no cortar, Sassar, para derecha Carras se quiera poco y se abre, para uno corto frenando mucho, izquierda media.
Without any threat, the Ford duo raced each other at a relentless speed.
It couldn't be better. It'd be nice if it finished tonight.
Maybe one of the Fords could have a problem. That would be a lot of help for us, but judging what they've done the last 2 days, we can't rely on that happening.
Day 3 and more heat and more drama. This time it was Burns in trouble.
Yeah, we're at the stage and the power's gone. It's just dropped up to like nothing and just cruising along. Just keep your place, don't read them out. It's just dying. Still moving, but just it's like I've got about 40 horsepower.
We had no turbo speed or anything, so when we got here I just tried to disconnect all the things you have to disconnect, but unfortunately it wouldn't start again. The engine was full of oil.
Hankinen in the second work Subaru also looked in trouble. A front wheel bent inwards. But as in Kenya, Toshi Arai drove into the points. With 5 of the big boys out into the points came the Skodas and even Saudi driver Bakashab in a Toyota. Sainz was slowly eating into McRae's lead until team orders to hold position were issued.
They're both important members of the team and they understand what they've got to do. They've both got to get the cars to the finish. But ultimately we will rely upon them being grown-up men and holding station.
The only message I've got is I have to arrive to the end, and that's what I'm trying.
Sainz, though, appeared to be ignoring the orders, taking the lead on stage 16. Confident that the team orders would hold, McRae was easing off to preserve his car.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm doing my job, so it's up to the management to sort the other side of it out.
In the end, Sainz pulled over near the finish and McRae reclaimed the lead. From no wins for a year to 2 out of 3, McRae now looked as if he was in the title fight.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't have been a better result. Absolutely perfect as far as that's concerned, and Kate's still got a bit of a lead, but if the car's as good as it has been here, New Zealand's a rally I enjoy very much. We've always been very quick there. It's looking good.
So at the halfway stage in the season, despite the problems in Greece, Burns has a big lead from Gronholm and McRae, with Sainz and Mäkinen 1 point further back. July and midwinter down under for the Rally New Zealand, based in the city of Sails, Auckland. Normally New Zealand in winter is wet and wild, but this year it was dry and warm. Great for the fans, but bad for Burns and McRae, who struggled for grip as they swept the road clean for the cars behind. Things were a bit better for Carlos Sainz. He was fourth on the opening stages near Hamilton. Eclipsing both senior Ford drivers was Petter Solberg. He was second after winning 2 of the first few stages. Gronholm was third, but the Peugeot on the move was number 9, Francois Delacour's. Delacour hadn't been to New Zealand for 5 years and knew only one stage, but he was inspired and he was leading. Fifth was Juha Kankkunen. And that other Finn, Tommy Mäkinen, struggled with a bad setup on his Mitsubishi. 9th was all he could manage. Tony Gardemeister finished 3rd in 1999. No chance of that this year.
We landed a little bit to the ditch, to the right side, a little bit too much, half meter or something, and then, or meter. And then after that, the car started to do like twisting in a road. And then next corner, 50 meters later, we go straight to the field, and there was big drop, and the car started to the rolling. I don't know how many times, but many.
Didier Auriol was also in trouble in the other Seat. Listen out for Denis Giraudais saying his prayers.
Mamie, je t'aime. Mamie, je t'aime. Mamie, je t'aime. Mamie, je t'aime. C'est bon. C'est bon. Ça va? C'est bon. Putain. Allez, va. Ça va, Didier? Tu te sens bien? Ça va, ça va.
By the end of the day, Burns had dropped to 8th, 1 minute and 6 seconds down.
The worst possible situation for us will be if it rains tomorrow, which I understand it probably will, because then it means whoever's in the lead actually has an advantage, because they pull more and more mud out onto the road and make it more slippery.
Sure enough, with day 2 came the rains. Burns' hopes of a win looked lost, but he drove like a demon. He set fastest time on 4 stages, at one point driving a second a kilometre faster than anyone else. Delacour's reign ended with gearbox problems.
Et la boîte faisait un gros bruit. Un gros bruit.
Nopea.
Past him, into the lead, went Marcus Gronholm.
Ahdas. Oikein nopea ahdas.
But like Burns, McRae was on a charge, up from 6th to 2nd.
Items narrow. 20. Flat right. 50.
Despite this spin on stage 13, Burns ended day 2 in 3rd place.
20 flat right, 50 flat left.
Also pushing for points, local hero Possum Bourne. and Petter Solberg. The Hyundais were also on a charge. Kenneth Eriksson was up into the points, and Alistair McRae gave Hyundai their first World Championship stage win in New Zealand. He was 5 seconds faster than the rest of the field. Minutes later, though, his transmission seized. Grönholm came close, very close, to losing his lead on the last day.
Oikein pyöreen. 8 ja vasen pitkä nopea risteys, kirraa, varo.
But whereas Grönholm escaped by the skin of his teeth, Burns did not. The power steering failed less than 30 kilometers from the finish.
The power steering failed about 2 or 3 kilometres from the end of the stage, and there was a lot of oil over the engine. We got to here, turned it off to try and find out what was wrong, see if we could fix it, and then the car wouldn't start. So.
In a double whammy, Juha Kankkunen Subaru also failed to start at exactly the same time control.
On the fast one, before the left, hey, the tight.
Carlos Sainz stepped in to take third. The thrill was blunted though. This was the second anniversary of his last win.
Para izquierda en cuarta, para derecha buena más ojo, para izquierda buena más, se cierra para uno corto.
Second went to McRae. And victory, his second of the year, to Marcus Grönholm.
It's very nice to win for second time, and without any problem with the car here, so it was fantastic rally.
In the space of 2 rallies, Burns' lead has gone from 20 to 4 points. Suddenly, the championship was wide open. Finland was the setting for round 9, based around the lakeland town of Jyväskylä, about 270 kilometers north of the capital, Helsinki. This year's the 50th anniversary of what used to be called the Thousand Lakes Rally. It's an event traditionally dominated by Scandinavian drivers. In fact, there have only ever been 2 winners from outside the region. As leader of the World Championship, first off the start ramp was Richard Burns. 2 minutes later, Finland's new rally star Marcus Grönholm rolled off the ramp and off to do battle.
World Rally car. 2 World Championship victories.
Stage 1 was just 7 kilometers long, but the top drivers burst out of the blocks as if they were in a sprint, not a 3-day event. Burns was hot, but not fast enough. Grönholm was 9/10 of a second faster.
Viisi vaseri tiukka yli nypy ahdasta sumppu. 8 vaseri miinus sumppu. Ja oikein eri. 8. Vaseri miinus. 7 oikein nopea.
But the big surprise was the instant pace of former FIA WRC driver Harry Rovanperä. He set the 3rd fastest time on stage 1. Again, Tommi Mäkinen was off the pace, 7th on Parkala and 6th overall. His speed wasn't helped by having to pass the slowing Ford Focus of Carlos Sainz, the last non-Scandinavian to win the rally, way back in 1992.
Pitkä oikein täysmiinus yli 100.
Well, on the second stage, just in the starting line, the car started to misfire badly and didn't go for a while. I tried to switch to other maps and do everything I could. And then they radio me that I should try to change the computer. Then I changed the computer, I stopped, and then the car was running again.
How much time have you lost?
Nearly 6 minutes.
So is that game over?
Game over already.
Stage 3 and Marcus Grönholm made it 3 wins from 3 stages. But just when Grönholm looked as if he was going to monopolise the rally, Richard Burns put in a blinding time to win stage 6. Hot on his heels was Colin McRae, who was 4th overall, 24 seconds adrift, but focused on a steady run to the finish. The winner in 1999, Juha Kankkunen, was mysteriously off the pace in 2000. His jumps were big, but his time's good enough only for 8th overall. Just as high-flying was Norway's Petter Solberg in 4th place.
Well, the most important thing for me now is to jump highest, longest, because I want to have lots of promotion. That's the thing, you know, so I get many pictures.
Solberg got in lots of pictures all right by planting his focus 200 metres into the forest. And still he tried to drive it out.
What can I say? We came too fast over a crest here and we get the back end a little bit outside in the ditch. And then we just went around and into the bushes.
Stage 11 was one of the longest stages on the rally and one of the fastest. At the finish, the cars were nudging 180 kilometres an hour. With the finish line in sight, Richard Burns was in 6th gear.
And flat right, 100.
Three times Burns' $500,000 Subaru barrel rolled before slamming into a wall of pine trees. Amazingly, he still recorded the 2nd fastest time on the stage. Luckily, neither Burns nor his co-driver Robert Reid suffered more than a stiff neck.
Yep, yeah. You better slow the car down, because somebody else is going to end up in here as well. It's a bit of a stupid place to put a flying finish. Cut off here?
Well, everything was going fine, and I just went into the last corner of the stage too fast. I had it as a 6th gear corner that tightened, and it tightened a bit more than I thought, and well, that was that.
All the Englishman could do was watch as his championship lead disintegrated before his eyes. With Burns out of the picture, Grönholm suddenly had a 38-second cushion to Rovanperä, but Grönholm had to keep up his speed or fear losing his rhythm. Fastest on stage 14 was Scotland's Colin McRae, who, despite being the most spectacular driver in the world, has never shone on the most spectacular rally in the world. McRae and Rovanperä were fighting for 2nd. Juha Kankkunen was up to 4th overall and was driving like a man possessed. But on stage 16, Kankkunen's flying charge was grounded with a puncture. 4th place became 10th.
Just the tire exploded, you know, on the fast part or after the mid point about on Pohjan. Then the last 5 Ks is so rough road that we had to change the puncture and took some minutes.
Why did it take so long to change it?
We didn't have the nut gun with us, we just had the wheel brakes and normal, and it just takes that long.
It capped a bad day for Subaru. If you win here, you go into the lead in the championship. Is that something you've thought about, the fact that you could be leading the World Rally Championship tomorrow night?
No, we have to do the rally first and finish the rally, and then we will see. Okay, it would be very nice to win here. And then if we are going up to the lead, it's even more nice, but we have to wait.
At the start of stage 20, a mix-up with Rovanperä's time card forced him to start the stage late, incurring a 20-second time penalty. When McRae set a 2nd fastest time in a row, Rovanperä found himself in 3rd place. Colin, there's a time penalty hanging over Harry because of a check-in irregularity at one of the stages. Is that any way to take second place?
Well, okay, it's nicer to do it fair and square on the stage, but at the end of the day, if someone's made a mistake, then they've made a mistake. So we'll just wait and see what happens.
Furious about his time penalty, Robin Perra put the pedal to the metal to try and win back his lost time on stage 22. He went ahead of McRae, but on stage 23, McRae was even quicker. He showed why he's called the Flying Scotsman. But this was Marcus Grönholm's rally, led from start to finish. No one would think that this was the drive of a man who won his first World Championship rally only 6 months ago.
Good, very good. It was very nice to win here, and okay, it was not after so big fight, but anyway, it was a good.
Will you finally admit that you now have a chance at this year's World Championship?
Maybe there is a chance, yes, but we will see. A lot of rallies to go, and okay, there is a chance.
So Grönholm's win at home takes him into the lead of the World Championship from Burns, McRae and Sainz. Round 10 of the World Rally Championship and a first ever visit to the Mediterranean island of Cyprus.
Basically the biggest difference is the shape of the stages. They are really slow, quite rough in places, but the main difference is the speed and also the heat.
There's one stage in the recce. We were in first gear for the whole stage for 30 kilometres, so that's how twisty it is.
We are sweaty like hell, and it's very difficult on the long stages, I think. But same for everybody.
You don't get much air in the car, you don't get much air inside or for yourself or for the engine, and it's going to make it a hell of a tough rally.
Grönholm led the way, but running first on the road and feared that his Peugeot was not strong enough for the conditions, he wasn't at 100%. Fastest, a second and a half quicker over the first 6 kilometres, was Spain's Carlos Sainz. He finished second on the rough roads of Greece. In Cyprus, he was determined to go one better. Second fastest was McRae. A repeat of the Acropolis rally looked on the cards. Out of the choking dust came Armin Schwartz, the only top driver to have driven before in Cyprus. Confidently, he had the revised Octavia floating through stage 2. Calling the notes is his co-driver Manfred Hema. At 100 kilometres an hour, Schwartz got too confident.
Well, it's actually my stupid mistake. I did not really listen to Manfred enough. When I really saw what's coming up, then it was too late because we came in too fast to this corner, and then we rolled the car.
In a matter of minutes, both Skodas were out. Lewis Clement lost engine oil. Poland's Krzysztof Holowicz was pushing hard in 16th place when his world went upside down. Stage 5 was a rude awakening for the drivers. 31 kilometres over 1,000 bends and all against the clock. Even Tommy Mäkinen found it hard to get into a rhythm. Tony Gardemeister in the second Seat had spent the morning fighting differential problems. He was 10th overall. But his teammate Didier Auriol was in much more serious trouble. The power steering had failed in the longest, twistiest stage of the rally.
after 4 kilometers, we broken the power pump steering, and I do 2 stages without pump steering, and it was quite hard.
You look absolutely drained. Why are you continuing?
Good question.
Stage 6 was another long one, almost 20 kilometers, too long for the stricken Peugeot of Marcus Grönholm.
Yeah, we had a problem with the alternator, and the belt went off, and we lost completely all. I mean, the battery was empty and everything empty. We stopped.
Francois Delacour's moment of glory in second place behind Sainz nearly evaporated coming into the last service.
I think we are very, very lucky because when I arrived at the time control, the dashboard was maybe less than 1 liter fuel.
Flat right.
Burns was trying hard, too hard, to catch Sainz. A couple of times he ran wide in his desperation to stop the Spaniard.
40 slow K left. 20 K right. 10 K right. Tight, baby.
How much of a risk are you taking?
Well, today in rallying, you know, if you want to win, you have to risk. So it's clear.
Stage 8, I made a couple of mistakes. I spun and I overshot a corner as well. So over the day we've lost about half a minute, but that doesn't put us anywhere near to Carlos. He's done some really good times.
Like day 1, day 2 dawned hot and sunny over Cyprus. The surprise of the morning came when Belgian Freddie Loik set past his time on the opening stage.
It was a good feeling, and especially because everything was going so well. I was back driving very clean.
When Delacour had a puncture, Burns moved back into second place, much to the delight of the British fans. Colin McRae was pushing hard but couldn't catch Sainz. Quietly but quickly, Marco Martin had ended up 5th overall, but behind, Tommy Mäkinen was closing fast. Brake fade had hampered Francois Delacour, who was 4th, 20 seconds behind Burns. Second, and still unchallenged, was Colin McRae. All day, Sainz had protected his lead without drama to keep McRae 64 seconds behind. 2 kilometres into the last stage of the day, Richard Burns' rally went from bad to worse.
2
kilometres in, the prop shaft snapped, so meant we just had front wheel drive, and then it locked into second gear, so we lost about a minute.
How come you're smiling?
Nothing else I can do.
How important is it to win here?
For me, it's important because if I don't win here, I can say bye-bye basically to the championship. So I think it's very important because that's why we have been really trying hard since the beginning.
Day 3 and Carlos Sainz started it knowing that he was less than 6 hours from his first win in 2 years. McRae said he'd go hell for leather on the last morning as he tried to catch his runaway teammate, but his car was overheating and there was nothing he could do to rein in Sainz.
And 6 right opens and tightens into left and right over crest and 2 left.
By stage 18, Mäkinen had Martin firmly in his sights. Keeping up the pressure on the Fords was Francois Delacour in the Peugeot. In the end, Burns had to settle for fourth. Out of the points in his 150th rally, Juha Kankkunen. But the first win in 26 months for Carlos Sainz. Carlos, congratulations. Your first win for quite a long time. How do you feel?
Yeah, very happy. Very, very happy. I've been waiting now very long. I have quite a lot of second and third. A lot of podiums, but obviously we are racing for winning, and I'm delighted.
With Grönholm not finishing, his lead in the championship is narrowed to 2 points by Colin McRae. Richard Burns drops back to third, but Sainz's victory earns him fourth position and a place in what's looking like a four-way fight for the title.
It's a long time since there's been 4 drivers capable of winning the championship, and I think you'll find that it will go all the way to the end, so it could be certainly more than 2 drivers at the end of the year.
After Cyprus, the World Rally Championship island hops to Corsica. The Tour de Corse was held in autumn this year, making the weather almost as big a lottery as the Drivers' Championship.
It's very open at the moment. I think there are basically 4 drivers in a good position, and still too early.
I think it will be a quite hard fight, but for me it looks quite difficult, but for sure I try my best.
It's a 4-horse race. I'm still well and truly in there. We're only 3 points behind Marcus, so it's not over by a long, long way.
I think it's going to be a good even fight. Carlos is still slightly behind, but not that far. One rally could change it all round again.
Peugeot went for local knowledge, nominating Francois Delacour and Gilles Panizzi as their manufacturer's point-scoring drivers, leaving Grönholm to concentrate on the Drivers' Championship. But Richard Burns blasted out of the block, setting fastest time on stage 1. Pirelli had given the Englishman new tyres for Corsica, and on the dry, they worked well. The Ford duo of Colin McRae and Carlos Sainz made a less dramatic entry onto the Corsican stage. Both picked too soft a tyre for the opening few stages, making the car move around too much. Mathematically, the reigning champion, Tommi Mäkinen, knew that a winning Corsica would lift him back into the title fight, but it was obvious from the first 2 stages that his Mitsubishi was outclassed by younger, faster cars. Mäkinen's Mitsubishi teammate Freddie Loix didn't even make it to the second corner, let alone the second stage. On cold tyres and with too heavy a right foot, his exit from the Tour de Corse was fast and dramatic.
It was a big crash because the speed wasn't so high, but I think somewhere between 80 and 100, and we went just straight like that, and we flew down for I think 20-30 meters.
Hyundai missed the Cyprus rally to concentrate on testing for Corsica, but on stage 2, Kenneth Eriksson's rally came to a dramatic end.
10 kilometers before the end of the stage, we had no tread left, you know. It was the steel of the tires, and we missed the braking point, and because of that, and we hit the bank a little bit, so we snapped the wishbone off the car, you know. And then we had a double puncture as well, and we had to struggle really to come out of the stage.
Peugeot's asphalt king, Gilles Panizzi, was lucky not to damage his car on Eriksson's debris as he charged up stage 2 behind the Swede. Amazingly, he still set fastest time. Panizzi's teammate Francois Delacour led into the first service after finishing second on both stages. Delacour was desperate to win in Corsica. His last World Championship victory was 6 years ago. Delacour won the Tour de Corse in 1993 in a Ford Sierra. He took advantage of knowing every inch of every stage. Delacour almost lost his lead on stage 5 when 2 pigs played chicken with the Frenchman.
I come in for win, not for finish at the back.
I think it's nothing because tomorrow it will rain, and in this condition I think everybody can win the rally. You know, if you do a very bad loss of tire tomorrow and everything can happen, then 6 seconds is nothing. And look at the sky, and I think everybody is speaking about the rain. I think we will get some rain.
At the end of the day, Panizzi had taken the lead from Delacour. On day 2, 6 stages totalling 131 kilometres. In the thick mist, there was an air of frustration amongst the championship regulars. They couldn't do anything about the Peugeots. Sainz, though, was not about to give up. Going into stage 10, Colin McRae was 4th on the road and on course to take the lead in the championship. After plummeting off the road at 110 kilometres an hour, McRae lay trapped unconscious, upside down in his Ford Focus. With fuel leaking from the car, fire crews fought to free the Scot. Nicky Grist was shaken but unhurt. It took 40 agonising minutes to free McRae, who then walked to a waiting stretcher.
Well, I think the important thing is that Colin's out of the car. He was on 2 feet when he came out of the car. He's now been taken to hospital by helicopter in Bastia, and obviously we're just glad that Colin's okay. These Scots are made of pretty tough stuff, so we're just hopeful that everything's all right, and we wish him all the best.
Still numbed by the accident, the drivers went back into battle, but little had changed. Delacour was fastest on stage 11, but Panizzi's lead was now over 13 seconds. On the final stage, there was more drama amongst the Peugeot pair. Panizzi stalled his 206. In an instant, his 13-second lead became a deficit of just 0.2 of a second.
Now we are equal, just 0.2 seconds in front, I am. And we will see, I think tomorrow will be maximum attack for me and Gilles.
You've never won a rally in the World Championship. Are you nervous? What do you think tonight? You sleep well?
Yes, no problem. I sleep well, and tomorrow on the top.
Day 3, and Mäkinen was still hopeful of a championship point as he started stage 13, the same stage where Freddie Loix had crashed 48 hours earlier.
Paseri plus ja huomio, hae oikein 3, pitkä oikein nopea plus aukeaa. Jatkuu pitkä oikein nopea plus. Oi saatana.
Half a kilometre from the site of Loix's accident, Mäkinen too crashed into the bush. Panizzi had pulled 7 seconds back from Delacour on stage 13. On stage 14, Delacour clawed back 5 of those. The gap going into service was 0.9 of a second in Panizzi's favour.
We have already decided, we have spoken to François and Gilles. Situation will remain as it is. I mean, Gilles and François will have as a task to bring back the cars up to the end of the rally, staying on the road and remaining in the same position.
From my point of view, I don't like, for sure, because I think it's not the sport and they don't understand.
His first time in Corsica, and Grönholm is on a brief charge too for 4th place. But just when it looked as if Grönholm had burns in his sights, the Englishman fought back. Burns set fastest times on stages 15 and 16. Even when the heavens opened, Sainz had to settle for 3rd. Piero Liatti was 6th. Francois Delacour had to settle for second. But this was Panizzi's rally, his first World Championship win.
Very happy and for this first victory with my brother, and I'm very happy today because Peugeot win here.
I realized maybe late, maybe now, how is it important for Peugeot to win the factory championship, because it was at the beginning the most important thing for Peugeot.
So a debut win for Gilles Panizzi and his brother Hervé. Peugeot's plan to rob Burns and McRae and Sainz of championship points worked with 3 rallies remaining. 4 drivers are separated by just 5 points. Next on the calendar, the World Rally Championship moves across the Mediterranean to San Remo in Italy for round 12. And amazingly, Colin McRae was back in action. How are you feeling?
Good. Better than I thought anyway. I mean, it's almost normal. There's a bit of a sort of pain in the left side of my face and a bit of discomfort in the shoulder, but you know, nothing that a few aspirins won't sort out. I'm sure, okay, it's going to be difficult until I start, but I'm sure there's going to be no difference in my performance. Certainly physically I feel good. You know, even if I was 80% right and I could drive the car, I would be here. I've got to be here. It's the championships at stake. There's 3 rallies to go. And I've got a very good chance to win the title.
To beat the Peugeots, Richard Burns knew he had to hit the ground running. As in Corsica, he set the fastest time on the opening stage at Apricale. McRae confessed he was nervous as he rolled up to the start of stage 1. Not that it showed. He was 7th quickest, first time back in the Ford. As in Corsica, it was a battle between the Peugeots of Delacour and Panizzi. Panizzi's speed might have been impressive to watch, but it didn't impress his rivals. Some even suggested he'd been practicing illegally on the stages.
Panizzi's already pulled out a lead as predicted. Does he know something you don't?
I'm sure. I mean, of course, you know, we have a lot of people which had seen him during the recce, so it's nothing new, but you cannot prove it.
Carlos Sainz has just said that he can't prove it, but he knows that Gilles has been out looking at stages before the recce. Anything you can say on that?
It doesn't matter for me. It's not my problem.
Minutes after shrugging off the issue, Francois Delacour stormed into the Peugeot service area. He wanted to confront Panizzi, but a team manager held him back. Delacour was so upset, tears were streaming down his face. He wanted to stop the rally there and then. It took his physiotherapist to coax him back into the car. Angry and emotional, he attacked stage 3 as if it was his arch enemy. Ford's asphalt expert was the local hero Piero Liatti. He was up as high as 4th until a fire dropped him down to 6th. Carlos Sainz struggled all morning with handling problems. By stage 6, he was half a minute down. McRae's crash in Corsica had prompted Sainz to wear a full-face helmet for San Remo. The Italians love a fighter, and they don't come any braver than Colin McRae. With his injured face rubbed sore, he was in pain. 8th overall after the first 8 stages was scant reward.
Colin, you've picked probably the longest day of the World Rally Championship to come back after your accident. Is it taking its toll? Are you feeling tired?
Yeah, a bit tired now, a bit more than I thought it would be. It was quite good up until lunchtime, and then it sort of went fairly rapidly downhill.
With Richard Burns up in third place, Grunholm faced losing his championship lead.
Wait, braking medium right minus and K right plus 30. Medium left, then it's okay. 10 medium left, 20 K right plus slippy in.
But Peugeot's dominance of the rally had fueled the rumour mill and left their team director defending, not celebrating their performance.
When Peugeot was efficient but not reliable, nobody was scared about us. Now the problem is that we begin to be quite harmful to the competition, and suddenly this type of rumors are coming out.
Day 2 began bathed in soft sunshine. The cloud over Panizzi still remained, but the Frenchman didn't care. He began day 2 as he finished day 1 in command. Tommy Mäkinen was lucky to start day 2 at all. Before dawn he was involved in an accident in which a policeman was killed. Distraught, Mäkinen got into his Mitsubishi, but 15th fastest on the first stage was all he could manage. By stage 10 he'd found his composure and set fastest time. The reigning champion was back in business. Burns showed on the day's first stage that third was not enough. He wanted second, or even first. Grunholm was out of the points, and he could smell the chance to retake the lead in the title race. He was driving like a man possessed. His desire to win had got the better of him. From the outside, the Subaru looked unscathed, but the radiator had been holed. Burns and co-driver Robert Reid nursed it as far as the time control, but the engine was cooked and the Subaru coughed to a halt.
No, we're okay. We can push. We can push. You're okay, Richard. You're okay. Okay, Rob. Green.
Boiling oil and long faces showed that the prognosis was bad.
Richard, the news doesn't look good. The car won't restart, is that right?
No, looks like the head gasket is gone.
You must be gutted.
Yeah, I didn't think we wouldn't leave at all. I thought if we got here, to be fair, the engine did well, I think, to get this far, because it's run a long time without any water at all. So I thought if we got here, then we should be able to fix it, but it doesn't look like that.
Liatti was quick again on stage 11, but by stage 12, his home rally was over. Still upset by the early morning accident, Mäkinen tried to take his mind off it with some ace driving. Grunholm, though, was hot on his heels. With Liatti out, McRae inherited 6th place and a potential championship point.
6 left and 6 right over crest. And 6 right, 70. K5 left over crest and 4 right plus.
Colin, you're up into a point-scoring position, but it's been a hard day for you by the looks of things.
Yeah, it's just been a bit of a struggle. It's been a long, drawn-out day, and it's just hard to keep the concentration, but okay. If we can get 1 point out of it all, I'll be quite happy.
Day 3 and just 2 stages, 40 kilometres in total.
Understand.
Panizzi and Delacour had first and second all but sewn up. Mäkinen smelt the scent of the first podium place since Argentina 5 months ago, and an outside opportunity to stay in the title race. There was always a chance that by finishing third, Grunholm could be handed victory in San Remo. That was incentive enough to put him on maximum attack. The attack was too hard though. Grunholm whacked a wall and bent his rear suspension. Third was a lost cause.
Oikein hidas. Nyt.
Subaru's new boy Marco Martin ran off the road on stage 16 in his penultimate drive for Toyota. After the crash, the organisers sensibly stopped the rally early. So 2 wins in a row for Gilles Panizzi. This one more controversial than the last.
I'm very happy, and two victories in 3 weeks. It's very good for me, for my brother, and for the team, of course.
Still second, but okay, it's like that. You have to accept. It's so great for Peugeot, and Gilles went fast.
So you're not happy?
I am happy.
So another 1-2 for Peugeot, and Tommy Mäkinen gets his first podium finish since Argentina. For the penultimate round of the World Rally Championship, we move down under to the capital of Western Australia, Perth. Tommy Mäkinen had gone to Australia and won titles in the past, but he knew this year the chance was all but gone. He needed the 4 other title fighters to retire, but by the end of stage 3, he was 4th and in the frame. Although a win here by the current leader, Marcus Grönholm, and he could be crowned world champion. Colin McRae was still suffering after his Corsica accident, but he knew there was no time for self-pity in Australia. By stage 5, he was 5th overall and looking threatening. Ford's other championship challenger, Carlos Sainz, was 2nd after stage 4. Burns, though, was suffering. Brake fade left him struggling. 12th on stage 2 put the Englishman 18 seconds down and in a bad mood. Stage 6, though, will be remembered as the stage where Colin McRae's rally and World Championship hopes evaporated. Halfway through the stage, the Ford started to splutter. He made it to the end, but the oil ran dry and the engine seized. McRae's face said it all.
Realistically, how does your championship chances look now?
Pretty grim at the moment. That's all we can say. We just have to wait and see what happens, but it's not looking good.
Peter Solberg's attention-grabbing drive for his new team ended when he whacked his Subaru against a tree on stage 8. The rules said that the overall result after stage 9 would determine the running order for day 2. Last year the drivers could choose their next day's start position, the fastest driver choosing first. This year that rule no longer existed. Suddenly rally drivers have become tacticians. Mäkinen tried to lose time by stopping short of the finish. Delacour slowed, but didn't stop.
Estamos justo detrás de él. Nos lleva 21. Párate, párate.
Carlos Sainz chose to stop and lose time in the time control at the end of the stage. The tactics left Burns furious.
Richard, you don't look happy. What's up?
Well, we've had an okay day, average, but now because of the system of this rally, we're being penalised basically because we're running at the head of the field, not only because we get the slower roads, but now because everybody behind has just dropped behind us. We can't do anything about it at all, and everybody else can just play around. So if I lose this World Championship because something is happening like this, then it's not worth winning the World Championship.
Carlos Richard Burns has just said that this World Championship has turned into a farce. What are your views on it?
It's always difficult to know what to do. Maybe we drop a little bit too much time. It was difficult to calculate in the stage, but make a small mistake. But we will see. The rally is still long and everything is possible.
The small mistake Sainz made was in fact a major mistake. It's illegal to stop in a time control. Later that night, the stewards at the rally found Sainz guilty and excluded him.
Yeah, we are excluded because we passed the yellow board. I didn't see the yellow board, and I passed it and I stopped after that. And well, it seems like other drivers like Delacour nearly stopped as well, but maybe not completely.
First McRae, now Sainz. Ford's championship hopes were finished. Day 2 in the rally headed south for 8 stages in Western Australia's lush southwest. Different scenery, but still the same ball-bearing gravel on which to slip and slide. Fifth on the road allowed Burns to set his first fastest time of the rally and move into the lead. Mäkinen was fastest on stage 12. The world champion was not in the mood to relinquish his title without a fight. Wellington Dam is the big daddy of the Western Australian stages, 45 kilometres of the slipperiest gravel on earth. The stage was so long that a good drive could allow a driver to pull out enough of a lead to make tactics unnecessary later in the day. Burns was fast, 34 seconds faster than Marcus Grönholm, who missed a corner. Fourth was Francois Delacour. Seat's drivers were never really in the fight on day 1, but on day 2, Tony Gardemeister was third fastest on stage 14. 0.2 of a second separated Tapio Laukkonen in the Ford and Kenneth Eriksson in a thrilling battle for 6th. In fact, Hyundai were on course for getting both cars in the points until stage 15.
Easy right, in. That's broken steam.
We just, well, clipped the bank on the inside in the last right-hander, and it shouldn't have happened, but the bottom control arm was broken, so that's it. The wheel's in against the arch, we can't go any further.
Stage 16 held the same significance as stage 9 on the first day. Few more tactical driving. As other drivers were backing off though, Kankkunen was barrelling into trouble.
30 turn. Okay, right.
Mäkinen's need for speed on stage 16 came half a second too early. The question, was it deliberate? The jump start earned Mäkinen an instant 10-second penalty. Not that the other drivers knew it at the time. At the other end of the stage, and Marcus Grönholm and Timo Rautiainen play for time.
How many seconds here? Senttis oli kello. Okei. Paljon sillä on nyt meillä? Pysäytä.
But is it enough? Burns and Robert Reid played exactly the same game.
Just round this corner, it's on this corner.
If we waited any longer and we were further back, then we would have had to have dropped a lot more time, and then the chances are we wouldn't have got the time back. So, to be honest, I think it's about the perfect place.
The game would have worked if it wasn't for Mäkinen's 10-second penalty. On day 3, Burns appeared to have a puncture.
Unlucky, huh?
It dropped him behind Mäkinen, but the running order didn't seem to count for much anyway. Tommy set the fastest time round Bannister West. He repeated the feat on stage 19, taking the lead. Stage 21, 2.2 kilometres. Mäkinen's lead looked safe, but there was less than a second between Burns and Grönholm. There was a duel for second place and a valuable 6 points in the championship at stake. Burns knew if he crashed, the title would go to Grönholm.
Ja Vaseri helppo yli nypy hyppää. 8.
But whatever he might do, Grönholm was quicker than Burns.
Ja oikein nopea.
Mäkinen took it easy through the Sotico stages. Getting to the finish would be enough for his first win in 10 months. The taste of champagne at the finish quickly turned sour though. Hours after his win, and whilst he was flying home, Tommi Mäkinen's Mitsubishi was found to have an illegal turbocharger. He was excluded from the rally.
Well, we're tremendously disappointed. We put in a lot of work to get this tremendous result, and we're absolutely gutted.
Marcus Grönholm inherited the win and the 10 points.
I couldn't expect this. It was, after all, tactics in this rally, and then now this thing. So it's not so nice to win, but no, the regulations is we have to follow them.
Grönholm's win moves him to within 1 point of becoming world champion. To stop Grönholm, Burns must win the last round in Great Britain and have Grönholm finish no higher than 6th. His win in Perth also secured the manufacturer's title for Peugeot.
If we keep the reliability, we make all the right tyre choices, and I just drive concentrating as I should do the whole time, then we should be okay.
I know Richard is fast here, he can win easily, so I have to then take 2 points, so that is not so easy, so I still have to drive quite fast.
Stage 1 was a brand new nighttime super special in Cardiff. There wasn't a centimetre between Burns and Grönholm. They set exactly the same time. The first full stage of the rally was 12 hours later at St Gwynno. Just a kilometre into the stage, Burns slid wide on the oily mud and whacked a rear wheel against a pile of logs. He was lucky not to be out there and then, but he lost half a minute and dropped to 21st overall.
Yeah, when I first hit it, I thought I didn't think anything, but then it was immediately apparent on the next straight that something was badly damaged at the back of the car. And my first thought, to be honest with you, was that how disappointed not only I was straight away, and Robert was, but obviously all the people standing by the side of the road. And I thought I couldn't imagine if we didn't get through the stage and through the next two and get to here, I couldn't imagine how sick I would feel.
Grönholm took advantage of Burns' misfortune and moved into the lead. More problems for Freddie Loix. On stage 3, his rally was over. With Burns needing to emulate Houdini to stand any chance of winning the rally, let alone the title, Colin McRae soon took up the job of chasing the runaway Finn. Ford's other star, Carlos Sainz, also waved goodbye to the Drivers' Championship in Australia. But Sainz was third in Britain, even after a brief excursion into a ditch. And not once, but twice. Stage 5 caught out both Ford drivers. McRae came away unscathed, but lost his lead to Grönholm. For the first time in half a decade, Tommi Mäkinen came to Britain with the title lost. It didn't seem to bother him. The Finn just wanted to win the only major rally missing off his resume. Grönholm set fastest time on stage 5, despite shearing a few sheep on the way. Night time on the legendary Sweet Lamb stage is where rallying separates the men from the boys. Colin McRae was back in the groove after his frightening Corsica crash and leapt back into the lead.
We started off very well.
I'm surprised that Richard's not going a bit quicker. So we'll continue, obviously, to try and win the rally.
Burns started day 2 in 5th place and knew he had a slippery mountain to climb before dusk. On the first stage of the day, he was 2 seconds faster than Grönholm, but he knew at that rate the rally and the title were out of his reach.
And K left, 30 flat right. So flat right, 60 flat right.
McRae knew his 19-second lead was safe from Grönholm, but the Scot kept up the heat just in case Burns' speed picked up. The windscreen wipers on Armin Schwartz's Skoda packed up in the middle of a rainstorm in Raiola. Tony Gardemeister wasn't having much of a day either. The only way Gardemeister could see where he was going was to peer under the bonnet. At the end of the stage, he jumped on the offending bonnet as much in anger as trying to fix it. For stage 12, the cars ran back through Raiola, and there was another twist in the title race as McRae ran into a ditch and took the front off his Ford. He struggled another 4 kilometres before pulling over and out of the lead.
No, once we realised the radiator was burst, then obviously it was a long way to go, so we pulled off.
Burns was oblivious to McRae losing his lead as he charged through Raiola for a second time. The title fight had risen from McRae's ashes. Burns was now not just 3 seconds off Grönholm, but 3 seconds off the lead.
The way things are going, Marcus will be world champion, and nothing I can do about that. It won't have been just because of this rally, it would have been because of the whole year, and like I say, it's all in the past. I just have to concentrate tomorrow.
We have to secure our position. I mean, we can slow down a little bit more, but we have to finish.
Day 3 and 3 stages all to the west of Cardiff, but all were long and technically difficult, and all would decide who took home the crown. Burns was fastest out of the blocks into Breckfer, but he was taking no risks. If Grönholm lost time, the Englishman had to be in first place to snatch the title at the 11th hour.
Slight right 80, slight left over crest, the slight left 80.
Behind the title fighters in 6th, François Delacour. In 5th, Juha Kankkunen. 4th, Carlos Sainz. And 3rd, Tommi Mäkinen. The final stage, Margam Park, where 2 years ago Carlos Sainz lost his title. In the car, Timo Rautiainen told Grönholm to slow down, but it was enough, and Grönholm the champion.
Marcus, many, many congratulations. 2000 World Rally Champion. Has it sunk in yet?
Yeah. I didn't realize, maybe not yet, but it's a good feeling. We have had a good rally in this condition, so more than happy.
For the 2nd year in a row, Richard Burns, the runner-up. Winning the rally was little consolation.
To be honest, for the last 3 days I've known that all I can do is try to win the rally, and I've had the feeling, being prepared for this feeling, you know, not expecting. I didn't expect to be world champion because I knew it was a very, very long shot. So I don't have a great big downer now. I have a good feeling for winning the rally, winning it now for the last 3 years, so that's a nice feeling. But of course there is some disappointment for not winning the World Championship, but I don't believe it's gone to someone who didn't deserve it.
So Burns, the winner of the Rally of Great Britain for the 3rd year in a row. 2nd, the new world champion Marcus Grönholm, and 3rd, Tommi Mäkinen. Confirmation then that Grönholm takes the 2000 drivers title by 5 points from Burns. Sainz secured 3rd with his 4th place in Wales. McRae was 4th. And Peugeot claimed the manufacturer's title in Australia, but Sainz's 4th place was enough to give Ford 2nd ahead of Subaru. So after 14 rounds on 4 continents, Marcus Grönholm and Peugeot were the 2000 World Rally Champions. Will they be able to hold on to their titles? Join us for the 2001 World Rally Championship.
75 mètres, droite à fond.